Okay, so we start with a slip knot. Make a loop and push your yarn up through. And then we begin with chain 6. And then it says, actually it says single crochet, but there's already my first mistake. Slip stitch to the first chain we made. So we're just going to slip stitch in that first chain. So it's just insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, and that forms a ring for us to work in. And on our picture, we're working right here in the middle, and that's what we did so far, was to chain 6 and then slip stitch back to the beginning. From there, it works around in rounds, and it works this direction if you're right-handed, or if you're left-handed, it just works around in the circle the opposite way, but it's the same on both sides. So we're going to do chain 5,
I don't know if it's fast with this one, if I did that.
yeah, that's okay. And then these symbols that have the 2 lines on them, those are treble crochets. So if you need to draw that out, it's these with the 2 dashes or 2 hash marks down. That's a treble. And that's what we did last week, where it's that extra yarn over at the beginning. So you yarn over 2 times, insert your hook, and we're doing all of this in this ring. So yarn over twice, insert your hook in the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then you yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So that's 1 treble, and we're doing 6 trebles in the ring. So again, it's yarn over twice, insert your hook into the ring, and also I'm holding that tail behind my ring so that I can weave it in as I go around. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So that's 2, and we're doing 6 altogether. Yes.
We didn't put anything like in between these.
No.
No. Okay.
Okay, so we've done the 6 trebles, and then we'll do a chain 3, and then we'll do 6 more trebles. all in that same loop. So 6 trebles, chain 3, and then 6 more trebles. And I still keep working with that tail around the whole time. It doesn't, if you drop it off now, it's fine. It keeps weaving it in, so there's less we have to weave in later. And it keeps it out of our way, too.
Some haven't gotten a tear in the bottle yet, I don't know why. Maybe I'm just
And when you're done with this row, it's not going to look, you know, this gets real pointy at the very end, but right now it just kind of looks like a arch. There's not much to it so far. And you finish out that row with a chain 5. And then you slip stitch back to where you started. And there's not really a real right or wrong place to join. On some of them I actually just ended up slip stitching in the actual loop if I couldn't get my hook to join in anywhere. On this larger one, every time I joined, I just joined in the actual loop. When I did the smaller one, I ended up going just over to the next stitch. So it's just kind of where you can get it to join back to the middle somewhere. I think with this yarn I'll be able to get it in right here. Yep. Okay, so after I've joined, I'm going to show you if you would want to do a color change. Whenever you go to do the last slip stitch, so when you go to join, you would insert your hook, and then you pull up your new color instead of pulling up your old yarn. So you pull through and pull through with your new color. And then you're going to want to pull your old working yarn and your new tail down tight together so it's up against your work. And then we'll start our next row. And our next row starts with a single crochet in the chain 5s of the previous round. So we did these chain 5s. So we're going to do 5 single crochets, and it's just one for each one. I'm going to work in the hole, or in the chain space. So it's 5 single crochets in this chain 5 space. You might need to slide them around a little bit so that they all fit on there, but so that's our second row, and that's right here. That's 5 single crochets. I guess there should be a 5 in front of that. In my mind, I knew exactly what I meant until I said it out loud. 5 single crochets in the chain 5 space of the previous round. And then here's where it's easy to get your count messed up. This first treble, we're going to do a half double crochet in the top of it, but the top of it is a little bit before it, so you want to make sure you don't accidentally cover it up with those 5 single crochets, which is why you might need to slide your single crochets back a little bit, because the hole to work in for this treble, it starts right before the treble. So this is where we're working into, and you can kind of plan it out to begin with. So before you even start, this is going to be a treble, or sorry, this is going to be a half double, and then they're going to have 5 double crochets after that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you want to make sure that you have enough stitches to work into. So it's 1 here, that's going to be a half double crochet, and then double crochets in the next 5. And a half double crochet is yarn over, like you're starting a double crochet, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, but this time when you yarn over and you pull through all 3 at the same time. So that's a half double crochet. And then we're going to do a double crochet in each of the next 5. So it's yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And do the same thing 5 times.
I don't know what it's like where I'm at. Yeah.
And on our chart, this little T, it's a capital T without any hash marks on the post, that's the half double crochet. And then the T with only 1 hash mark is the double crochet. Okay, so once I've finished, I did 5 single crochets in the chain space, then a half double crochet in the first treble of the previous row, and then 5 double crochets in the remaining trebles of the previous row. That brings me to my chain 3 space. And in the chain 3 space, that's everything here that's in brackets, it's going to be 2 double crochets, a treble, chain 2, a treble, and 2 double crochets. So that's all going in that chain 3 space. So 2 double crochets, treble, chain 2, treble, 2 double crochets, all in the chain 3 space. One more time, 2 double crochets, then a treble, which is the yarn over twice, and do pull through 2 3 times, and then chain 2, and then another treble, and then 2 doubles. And when you finish, just like we did at the beginning where we didn't want to cover over the beginning of a stitch, you're going to have to slide everything over here so you don't cover over the beginning of this treble, because right here is where we're going to work our next stitch. So make sure you have it slid down. You can follow that treble to the top and you can find the top of that stitch, which comes a little bit before it, right here. We're going to do 5 double crochets, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a half double crochet in the last one. So there's 6 stitches here. We're doing 6 stitches, but 5 of them are doubles, and the last one is a half double down this side. So that's 5 doubles, and the half is yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through all 3. So that's and then 5 single crochets in the chain 5 space of the previous round. So here's that last chain 5 space. That's where we're going to do 5 single crochets. And then we'll slip stitch to the beginning. And again, there's not a real right or wrong place to do it, so I'm just going to kind of make a hole. And that joins us back to the beginning. And so when we finish the second round, it's looking a little bit more pointed on the end, but it still doesn't have that real sharp point. So don't expect to be that to be there yet, but it does get a little bit more pointy at the end of this row. After the end of round 2, we go on to round 3, and it just jumps up to the next round on the diagram. So I slip stitched. I'm going to take out my slip stitch because I'm going to change my color again. So when I go to do that final slip stitch to join, instead of pulling through my old color, I'm going to pull through my new color. So I'm going to insert my hook and then yarn over with my new color and pull through and pull through. You've just got to keep all these tails on the back kind of pulled down tight until the end. So the next, and this is the last round, starts with a single crochet in each of the 5 single crochets of the previous round. So we started out the last one with 5 single crochets. We're going to do 5 single crochets, but instead of them being worked into a space, this time they're worked into the actual stitch. So we have 5 single crochets, and that is this right here. Then there is a 6th single crochet. That single crochet is in the top of the half double from the previous round. So single crochet in the top of the half double. So I did 5 and then 1 more for a total of 6 so far. And then we're going to start chaining in between stitches. So I'm going to do chain 2 and then a single crochet in the top of the first double crochet of the previous round, and then that's the only place we chain 2 in between the single that was the half double and the double. Then from there we chain 3 in between each time. So I'm going to do chain 3 and then single crochet, and that repeats in each stitch the whole way up this side of the round. So that all brings me up to here, which is my chain 2 space. And I'm going to chain 3 before I start working in that chain space. And then it's here, what's here in the brackets, you do a treble. And when you do a treble coming off of a chain, you'll need to hold those yarn overs with your finger, otherwise they'll kind of twist around your hook. So yarn over twice and hold it with your finger. Then you do insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then we're going to chain 6. We come back and single crochet, or sorry, slip stitch in the first of those chain 6. So that's the same thing we did at the very beginning to make the loop that we worked in at the very beginning is what we're doing right here to make a little loop on the end. And then we do another treble crochet in that space. And then just like we chained up before the treble, we chain back down on the other side. So we do 3 chains, and then we start the single crochets with the chains in between again. And make sure, it's important that you make sure you hit that first stitch just like before. So here's our first stitch of the row, and the top of that stitch is just right before the post. So it's right there, so it might make sure it didn't get covered over by your trebles. So we'll do a single crochet, chain 3, and single crochet, back down this side, and you do that 7. So you'll have 7 of these little bumps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The last one, the 8th one, is just a chain 2. So just like we started out with chain 2 in between on this side, we end with chain 2 on this side. So you'll have 7 bumps that are chain 3s. And that's 8 single crochets, so it depends on whether you want to count the bumps or the single crochets, whichever is easier for you. We're doing 8 single crochets down this side, which gives us 7 of those chain 3 bumps. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the last one is only a chain 2 and a single crochet. And that single crochet lands in the top of that treble from the previous round. And then we finish out the row with 5 more single crochets in those chain spaces. Or sorry, in those chain, no, sorry. 5 more single crochets in the top of the single crochets from the first round. Three, 4, and 5. And now we finally have our sharp point on there. And then to make it into a bookmark, we just start from here. You can slip stitch to join to the beginning of the row. We'll do that first, just a slip stitch. And then we're going to chain our way down. And just, it doesn't matter how many you do, just make sure you count them so you know how far you've chained. I guess it depends on how big your books are that you read. Okay, so for our example, I think I did 20. Once you've decided how long you want it to be, then you're going to do 6 more. So I would pinch that last one so you don't go beyond it. So you're going to do 6 more chains. And come back up and slip stitch in the first of those 6. And that makes a loop on the end. That's where we can put our tassel through if we want a tassel. And then you're going to either single crochet the whole way back up, or you can slip stitch the whole way back up. I've seen it done both ways. I prefer to single crochet because it's faster for me to single crochet. Even though it's a more involved stitch, I just think it's easier to kind of get a flow going with single crochets than it is for slip stitches. Slip stitching would just make it a little bit thinner of a tail. And it's just helpful if you know how many you did, so as you're single crocheting back up, you can make sure you hit them all. And when you get back up to the top, you just slip stitch back up to the main body of the bookmark. And then you pull up your loop and you cut it off and weave in your ends. Okay, and then finally, to do the tassel on the bottom, I wrap the yarn around my fingers. So depends on how thick your yarn is and how big your chain 6 space ends up being at the bottom of your tail. I wrapped it around 15 times, which gives me 30 threads. And then you could probably even do this and crochet it on as you go. I just always do it afterwards. So I only cut the bottom, so my working ends were both down when I was winding it. So I'm going to cut across the bottom. So they end up being double length. And I use my hook to thread them through. So I just lay them on top of there and work them through. I've also, if you've ever done the latch working, I've used the latch hook. I've also tied another piece of yarn on. Like it'd probably be smarter to do it as you work, but you just pop them through there. So you do that. So this is my cheat for getting it through. I tie a loop of just yarn and then pull that loop through, and it pulls all the strings through at the same time. Tassel making is not my specialty, but I get it done. Okay. And then once they're all through, just try to pull them as even as possible, and then you can trim them afterwards also. I get another piece of yarn. And tie it as far up to the top as you can, because you can always slide it down, but you can't slide it back up. And then, if you like, you can wrap it around a few times to make it thicker. And tie it off one final time. I like to try to tie it so it kind of slips down and you can't really see the knot. And then, in this case, they just happened to kind of fall down in line. If they don't, what I do is I take a needle and I thread them up through from top to bottom in the center of the tassel. And then just trim off the ends so that they are all the same length. And there's the tassel. And there's the bookmark.